Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our final day of participatory governance and involvement of civil society in intercultural policy making event. During last 2 days, we learned about policy of integration of migrants in Lithuania. Also, we learned about national minorities living in Lithuania. And today we will have opportunity to hear about integration, how integration is being implemented in reality, as we will have guests from Jonava district. But before I invite our guests, I would like to talk about some technical issues. In the morning, all registered participants were sent emails with evaluation forms. So please take several minutes and fill those evaluation forms, because we would really like to have your feedback on our event. Also, those who want to have certificates about participating in this event, please write my colleague Carolina. Her email will can be found also in that email with evaluation form. So now I will ask our moderator, Bo Maria. Maybe she has some issues to discuss, and then we will give floor to our guests from Jonava.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. We are going to proceed now with the two presentations before we close the event for the general public. And then after these presentations and the members of the general public giving us a brief feedback, maybe if they want, or filling in the evaluation, we are going to have 3 short sessions with the partners of the project, in which we're going to continue the discussion that we started tomorrow, and we're going to discuss also some local organizational issues within the project. So briefly, this is how the program of today is going to happen. If there are any specific questions, please write in the questions and answers section or in the chat, and we will try to address them as it's going. Have a nice day, and see everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Bo. And now I invite Mr. Mindaugas Sinkevičius, Mayor of Jonava District Municipality. He will be speaking in English, so Lithuanian guests can have interpretations to Lithuanian to choose in the at the bottom of your Zoom. So please, Mindaugas.
Okay, good day, everyone. I would like to address you with a presentation I have prepared with my colleagues. Let's see if the system works. Okay. Do you see the presentation?
Yes, we see you.
Okay. So once again, before even starting, I would like to say I'm the mayor of Jonava District Municipality. The municipality is average in size. All in all, in Lithuania, we have 60 municipalities. So to say, what's the average size municipality in Lithuania is what I consider Jonava is. It's that we have 42,000 inhabitants. The municipality contains both the city and the district. And what is interesting also to note is that we're in the middle of the country, and we're quite known for our furniture production. We're also quite known for our military bases that we have here in this around our municipality. And next to it all, we also have a refugee center located in Jonava District Municipality. So today, myself and my colleague Valentina will be giving a short presentations of how we're approaching things, what we're doing, how we're doing, what are what we call or what we think good practices in in implementing participatory governance and involving involving our refugees, asylum seekers in our societies. So we really had a case with one project. I'm not sure how much are you familiar with the situation of migrants and asylum seekers in Lithuania. I think that it would be not inappropriate to say that for migrants and refugees, Lithuania might be considered as not the top destination, but still, we as a member of European Union, we understand the issues behind the Syrian refugees and asylum seekers, and really work with the refugees that are coming to our country in various cases, and I will shortly talk about it. So one concrete case is a project that we have implemented already. It started in 2017, and it was signed when we signed a contract with particular funding from the Council of Europe Development Bank. We received a grant of 600,000 euros. Jonava District Municipality also put its share in the project, accounting for 163,000 euros. So that was a joint finance project that we had in Rukla. Rukla is a small town located in our municipality, and the project was named Promoting the Integration of Refugees. And what it's all about, what has been done in terms of this while implementing this particular project. So what we did is we have a multifunctional cultural center in Rukla, and we, with the help of these money that we received from the bank and also added from the municipality's budget, we renovated the multifunctional cultural center and made it possible to have various events there, like cinema, live concerts, discos for youth, various creative workshops, clubs, and so on and so on. And those are particularly focused on involving migrants and refugees, and also attracting local society. Because I think that despite that, when we started this event, I said that we do understand very perfectly in Jonava that we might be very different in how we look, in what is our culture, what is our religion, but we do all understand that we're at the same time, while being different, we're all equal. But despite that all, despite of having this notion, we do understand that there are a lot of stereotyping due to those previously mentioned issues, culture, religion, social backgrounds, and so on and so on. So I think that while having premises, this multinational cultural center, while having a possibility to interact, to share the culture, to have common events, it's always good to have this interconnection on the cultural grounds. And next to it all, we also were possible with the help of this project and this financing. We had a possibility to buy a few rooms and flats for refugees and their families, because usually when the refugees are relocated to European member states, and in our case, in Lithuanian case, it's usually Rukla Refugee Center. They spend some time there. we are taught of Lithuanian culture, some background information, but they can't stay in the center forever. They have to seek for their own living location in Lithuania, seek for their working opportunities, and so on. So Jonava district municipality is also approaching to this issue of having a place to stay. Also, with the help of this project, we bought out separate flats and made it happen to use those apartments for Syrian families, and made them as their new home with the furniture and so on and so on. What we also would like to most probably state is that this Rukla town located in Jonava district municipality, so Rukla is a part of our municipality. It has a, as I said, refugee reception center, and also next to it all, it's just a small town. It has a school and multifunctional center in Rukla, as I said, and we have classes where children of refugees, various nationalities, either Tajikistan or Syria or Iraq or Russia or Afghanistan or Venezuela or Sri Lanka, they attend classes, not to have them somehow separated from the society, separated from our educational system. Of course, there are quite a lot of difficulties. The main difficulty, I think, that there's always a challenge of language barriers and communication difficulties. So it's always the case, and it's of course difficult to find the translators for various languages, and most probably takes some time and common effort to learn some language, to understand each other, and with also to make education possible for the children of refugees. Next to it all, of course, besides the project that we have already implemented, it's a daily work that is done by Valentina and other colleagues. Is we come with a package of services, I would say, for the refugees, meaning that we tend to, in our city, with the help of center, with the help of municipality, in like a kind of coordinator, we tend to evaluate the skills of the refugees that are being relocated to Lithuania, for them to manage to find their working possibilities here, because the educational system might be different. Their qualifications need to be somehow elaborated, and they need to have motivation to stay and work. So of course, and next to it all, we with some agencies, we address our local employees for existing vacancies for working, and assist with the translation help and so on and so on. So it's a daily routine work, but it's maybe it's the work that's not seen, or you cannot provide pictures of this kind of work, but it's being done. It's being it takes effort from both sides. And what we see, and I think that that's a good trend, is that actually some refugees really find their spot under the sun, meaning that they integrate, they seek for employment, they seek for new, life conditions in a new location, in a new territory. So some of them really work as builders, furniture makers, tailors, hairdressers. They're what they're really good at, and they really tried various sorts of foods. Kitchen workers and also production operators. And what is maybe also good to note is that some of them are stay in Jonava and do not move to other cities. Some of them do move to some bigger cities, and that's absolutely normal because working opportunities most probably are more, or to say, in bigger cities there are more options where you can work. There's most probably opportunities as well. So, but some of them stay in our and work in our within our operating companies in Jonava. So those are some mentioned here, and I will not give the names because the names most probably are difficult and don't have a concrete meaning. So I would like to finish up and wrap up my today's presentation. Of course, we do understand the need of our attention, the need of our support for refugees, asylum seekers, and Jonava, I think, is one of the cities that is doing quite well in this sense. I noted before my presentation that most probably for refugees and asylum seekers, Lithuania might be not the top destination. Scandinavian countries, France, Germany, some refugees even don't even know Lithuania before coming here as an existing country on the world map. But what is important to note that our local community already is well adapted, is very well open-minded, and comes into interaction, and we have a lovely neighborhood, I would say. We don't have any conflicts or somehow. So that's not being done like that. You have to work on that. You have to fight the stereotyping and so on. And culture, constant help for the refugees when they know that they're being taken care of. I think that creates their motivation to stay, to work, also to show their knowledge and also to be motivated. So that's how we're doing basically. The presentation, I would say, more or less quite formal. Hopefully Valentina will give you more picture-based, photo-based presentation, and it will be lovely to see that. So thank you for your attention, and have a splendid, wonderful day. Thank you. Be safe.
Thank you very much. So now I invite Valentina Demidenko, Director of Jonava District Social Services Center.
Good morning. I have a great pleasure to participate in this international event. And I would like to extend the measures topic. Maybe I will speak more narrowly and present the good practice of Jonava Social Services Center. So now I would like to share. I will hope that you will see everything. So, can you see it? Is it okay?
Yeah, it is okay.
Yeah. I think that you had the discussions for these several days speaking about migration global tendencies, and it's really understandable that some economical, political, and social changes they are because of this global migration trends, but it also involves our daily life and this daily life in our local communities level. So speaking about global tendencies of migration, it's very important for Kaunas region and for Jonava municipality in particular, because as our major told, in our district we have refugee reception center. So our local community have more than 20 years experience of living together with immigrants from different countries. And I would like also to notice that in the end of the last year, we became the first city from Baltic countries which take part in the intercultural cities unit. And every year, various migrants integration projects and programs are prepared and realized in Jonava. As the Director of Social Services Center, I would like shortly present our center. We have more than 7,000 clients per year from very different target groups. We are working with disabled adult people and their children and their families. We work with sick, lonely, elderly people, with young, non-active people, with families which experience social risk and their children, with refugees, forced migrants, just foreigners and their children, with victims of domestic violence, addicted persons, and with all people who live in Jonava and who are in crisis and experience some kind of social exclusion. So speaking about migrants, I would like to note that we have the concept of social inclusion, and we think that it is just one of our target groups, so we don't separate it very much, because we understand that our migrants can have families, so they will need our case management, psychological assistance, mediation, and other facilities. We understand that this migrant can be elderly, so maybe they will need social and complexity services at home. We can understand that our migrants can need our help in the integration to the labor market, so they will need our early intervention activities. We can understand that there are unaccompanied minors, so we should speak about activities of our care center and about the supporting to children who live without parents, about adoptive parents, and so on. So we're speaking about client-oriented case management, and we're trying to involve different target group in all system of social services in our municipality. And we are trying to involve different specialists and also local community, because it's very important to involve also them to this process. We can understand that our migrants, especially forced migrants, can become a victim of domestic violence. So we need to give them this help. And we also try to organize common activities, and then don't separate just this target group, but we're speaking about common activities to different target groups. We understand that migrants as a target group have special needs, and that's why it's very important to put attention on training of our staff and to use new methods of inclusion. Speaking about social inclusion and integration, we should understand that integration is a difficult two-way process. So that's why it's so important to prepare not also newcomers, because as rule we're speaking just about preparing of refugees, of migrants. We speak about Lithuanian language, vocation training, social education, and so on. But we also should prepare local community. Speaking about assistance of immigrants, features of cross-cultural communication, tolerance, and so on. As I have mentioned, we understand that forced migrants, it is vulnerable group of migrants, and they need, as rules, special help because they have special needs. They have a lot of psychological problems and a lot of social problems, and these problems, as rule, are complex. But we also understand that local community also face different problems of living together with different people, because we are speaking about cultural, religion, behavioral and other differences, about intercultural communication difficulties. And to solve such difficulties, it is necessary to involve both sides of integration. So speaking about local community, then we speak about the integration of migrants. We should understand that forced migrants come not just to abstract asylum country, but they are coming to the specific municipality. So the role of local community, it's very important because in the context of local community as an environment of social inclusion, particular local community has important empowerment and educational resources. For using such resources, we can use the participation in the local community life, and in particular, we're speaking about social participation. So I would like to present you just issue of our good practice, how the participation in the non-formal short-term social education program and social participation activities may lead to more successful integration. So we had one project, and according to the two-way process of integration, we selected two study groups. We had students as representatives of local community, and forced migrants who were living in Jonava and also in Kaunas municipalities and took part in the program. Speaking about nationality characteristics, it were Lithuanians, Afghans, Ukrainians, Syrians, and Chechen. And the program had several steps. Speaking about student steps, at first step, it was preparing education, and it was courses for students of multicultural education, socio-educational work with migrants. The second step was practical process of volunteering. So students had the possibility to be volunteers in our social services center in Jonava and also in Migrants Day Center. And the third step was evaluation. So we just had to study and analyze students' reflections. And it shows that most students noted that volunteering influenced their values revelation, provisions change, minimized some fears and technical stereotypes, and improved their intercultural communication skills. Speaking about forced migrant steps, they also had several steps. So at first step, it was preparing education, and we used short-term program of non-formal education, social education for multicultural communication skills. At second step, it was a practical process of volunteering. So our migrants had the possibility to be volunteers in our social services center, and they provided care help to elderly and disabled Lithuanian people. And they also had common activities with social risk families in Jonava. And the third step was also evaluation. So it shows that migrants became more active and successful in the integration into local life and labor market, because taking part in this program, they get a new experience of intercultural communication. They participated in social activities of local community, and they also had the opportunity to work in social care area. And it empowered 6 refugees to get new professions. So they became the assistant of social worker, and it helped them to integrate to a labor market in such way. So what can I say in conclusion? We think that for successful integration of migrants, it's very important to prepare both sides of integration process. We speak not just about migrants, but we're also speaking about local community. Non-formal education forms, social activities, and volunteering are most suitable forms of such preparing, as shows our good practice. And we don't separate migrants because we think that common activities are very useful in the process of integration. So speaking about our future plans and developing of Jonava integrational activities, at this moment, our center has the project Social Integration of Foreigners Living in Jonava, and this project is not just for refugees, but for all migrants and even not migrants, but just not Lithuanian people who are living in Lithuania, or foreigners who are living in Lithuania. And also we're taking part in activities of the intercultural cities unit. And we are just in the starting of this process, and we really we are planning a lot of international and local activities speaking about migrants integration. So thank you for the attention.
Thank you very much. Maria, would you like to have some insights on the presentation? And everyone who wants maybe to ask some questions, so please raise your hand and we will hear your question.
Thank you, Gaila. I don't have a concrete question to the presentation, but I would like to ask the audience to use the opportunity now to reflect on both presentations we heard this morning, actually, and accommodate some space for questions and answers and for a small discussion. So now is the moment to look into it. Thank you. I think that we can also invite the group to tell us about their impressions from the previous days. If there is nothing specific to give us a feedback to these two presentations, we have also 2 other days behind, and we can use the opportunity now, after we've heard so much about the good practices in Latvia, about how in Lithuania, how civil society is actually working together with municipalities, how it's participating in local governance. Maybe now it's a good opportunity to give a general reflection, of course, including the last 2 presentations, but also thinking about the previous 2 days. So if you have something to share from the perspective of concrete feedback to one presentation or general feedback to all presentations you've heard, please step in and let us know your impressions about it.
Anastasia, you raised your hand. Would you like to say something?
Yes, thank you very much for the very informative presentations. I would like to make one question. If you could share with us any further good practice regarding the motivation of the local employees to recruit refugees into their businesses. Thank you.
Thank you for the question. Valentina, could you answer this question?
Okay, we'll try. As I have told, our community have quite long experience of living together, and I think that it's one of the most important note and factor which really can help also, and our directors of our organization to understand that these people can be very useful in their organizations also. But we have a lot of, in our local community, we have a lot of events, common events, during which refugees are taking part as another citizenships of Ionova. So it's quite, it's a nature process, and we have a lot of, common events. Just it is the possibility for the directors of different organizations to see such people as just normal people who can work and can be useful in their organization. We also had some projects which had the purpose to have special meetings with the directors of organizations who work in our Ionova district, and they had the possibility just to know some more information about migrants, about their juridical position, because as rule they had a lot of questions. Do they really have right to work in Lithuania? Is it legal, and so on? So at this moment we haven't these questions because this information is clear, and they get this information quite quickly. And at this moment it's working like one employer say to another employer. So it's like, it's working as a reclam.
Very useful.
I'm not sure. Did I answer to your question?
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, we have one more question. Maybe I can ask. It's from Karnikova municipality. Maybe I'll read that loud, and we can answer that. So first of all, thank you for the presentation. It was quite inspiring. What are refugees involved in organizing tourism or recreational activities? If so, what were outcomes?
I don't know about these facts. Maybe the major has, but no. During our activities, we didn't involve them to the tourist area. We involved them as rule to the social areas and also to another different areas, but not to the tourists.
Yeah, maybe Yanis could specify what he meant about that, involved in organizing tourism recreational activities, because now it's not very clear. Thank you, Valentina. Any more questions?
Yeah, let's see if there is something directly put towards these two presentations as a feedback or as a need to clarify. And then maybe we can proceed to discussing the previous 2 days, because now it's a good opportunity to share this also while the Lithuanian participants are here with us. So I would like to ask the representatives of the capitals of cultures, the present and the future capitals of cultures, as well as the past ones such as Rijeka and Plovdiv. What do you think about the presentation that you've seen yesterday, Kaunas European Capital of Culture? It has been really rich and informative, and it gave many perspectives. So one of the things that it's good to discuss here is how far do you think that you can cooperate with other capitals of cultures and learn from other capitals of cultures on practical implementations, especially when it comes to the pandemic and everything is very fragile concerning face-to-face events, concerning physical realization that requires physical presence of audiences. So that's a quite hot topic for everyone. During one of our online meetings in the past, we have discussed within the partnership, within our network, that there are plenty of very different challenges on the realization of the events online. Or, for example, in the case of Rijeka, the pandemic just caught them in the middle of everything, and they had to be very, very quick remaking and rescheduling. So how is for Rijeka and for the others? When you listen to Kaunas, what kind of thoughts it provokes. So it will be very, very important to listen to your feedback on it. I can see that now within our participants, we have the people from Novi Sad, we have the people from Croatia, from Timișoara, which is also upcoming. We have the people from the past capital of culture in Plovdiv, the two people from RCCD. So there is plenty of room to discuss and actually to exchange ideas, thoughts, feedback. So let's proceed. Ovidiu and his colleagues from Romania, maybe you would like to say a little bit about what were you thinking during the presentation of Kaunas? What would you bring from it, and what kind of reflections you can offer at the context of you also being soon European Capital of Culture, Timișoara? Hello, can you hear us well?
Yeah, those who want to speak, please raise your hand and we will place you into the panelist list.
Yeah, okay, I was thinking of inviting Ovidiu and his colleagues, but maybe if they don't have a good connection at the moment, maybe we can ask also our colleagues from Novi Sad. Vladimir, are you there? Yeah, I can see Vladimir coming. No?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Hello, hello everyone. Yeah, well, due to pandemic, we are now European Capital of Culture the same year as Kaunas, so we are now sister cities in 2022. Yeah, we were fortunate enough that the pandemic hit during our preparations for the year of the title, so we had the time to ask for postponement from the European Commission, and we got it. So we are now preparing the program in a way so that we could have a plan B in case the measures remain strict in 2022. Meaning that part of the program is planned to have like online format. So we have regular meetings with the colleagues from Kaunas and Esh because this year we were to organize ECOC family meeting, which is a very important meeting organized in the year before the year of the title, and we are now next week we have meeting regarding this topic, how to manage this in this new reality with the pandemic. So yeah, in general, it's very important for European Capitals of Culture to communicate and exchange experiences. And this was for Novi Sad especially important in early stages when we had a lot of contact with previous European Capitals of Culture with, let's say, similar conditions, similar sizes, because it's usually the biggest project that the city ever had, especially in the field of culture, and you actually don't have anyone within the city to ask, so you have to ask colleagues who experienced the project before to tell you, and then try to apply all of this experience and advice to your own context. So it's a very organic process which demands constant communication and constant adaptation of previous experiences.
Thank you. Flavius, you can say some words.
Okay, thank you very much. You can hear me, I guess, I presume. This is Flavius from Logs Association. We've been invited by the Timișoara municipality to join this event. I would like to congratulate for for the great presentations and the great initiatives that are taking place. I have been working with migrants and asylum seekers and refugees for the last 9 years now in Timișoara. We must say that we have not big numbers of asylum seekers settled and refugees in Romania, around 3,000 people in all the country. Nevertheless, their inclusion is a multi-level services and initiatives needed. Like you have been explaining, one of the presentation was just explained. I would just like to say a few words about one initiative that we have been doing in Timișoara. It's an art festival called Timișoara Refugee Art Festival. And the idea of this festival was to bring through culture and art the local communities and the migrants, refugees, asylum seekers, and migrants as well. And we've been also supported and financed by Timișoara Capital of Culture. Was supposed to be 2021, but now it's moved to 2023. So we've been using culture as an inclusion tool. We are also working close with local authorities like the municipality, the prefecture, the district, county, in order to promote, the rights and social inclusion of refugees in Timișoara. And just one more last word. In the last 6 months, Timișoara had a record number of immigrants arriving in Romania, asking for asylum, mostly Afghans. We have seen a very large community response towards the increasing numbers of migrants, and we manage with the community support, different associations, students, volunteers, churches, Muslim community. We managed to help the municipality, the immigration office. We've been providing everyday food and basic needs. And we just opened a community center that is going to be a place for meeting, of course, with all this, new normality of the pandemic times. So just as a conclusion, we are using culture and arts to try to speak about forced migration and try to build a positive narrative. And also we have seen an increased community support for refugees, also due to Romanians' migration background themselves. So keep up the good work and greetings from Timișoara.
Thank you very much, Flavius, for sharing this. I think it's also very, very important to know about the participation of refugees and migrants in these processes. As we mentioned, they're the less represented one. They suffer underrepresentation at many levels. So as soon as we know that through the European capitals of cultures, their participation has been boosted, these are actually great news. So it was good to hear. Yeah, thank you. How about our colleagues from Croatia, the Rijeka European Capital of Culture? Any feedbacks to what you've heard about the work of Kaunas, or any reflections on finding any similarities? Do we have Sonia or Ingrid at the moment?
Yeah, they can speak.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so we'll be happy to hear a little bit from them as well. Okay, if they're not ready to give an input at the moment, that's not a problem really, because we can then give the floor to our Lithuanian participants and see, as members of the public in Kaunas, how did they feel about what's going on with the preparations of the European Capital of Culture, any specific reflection, even from very personal, not necessarily from organizational point of view, would be very, very welcome. So we would be happy to hear. And that includes Gaila and Karolina, being Lithuanian and being in Kaunas. That would be good to hear.
Lithuanian participants, if someone wants to speak in Lithuanian, so you can do that, and you will be translated into English. So please, if you want, just raise your hand.
Okay, Gaila, if we don't have specific answers from Lithuania now, maybe you and Carolina would like to tell us a little bit about your personal perception. How did you feel it, and how did you, how to say, live through the preparations of Kaunas as European Capital of Culture?
Yes, I think as we already heard from yesterday's presentation, I think, of course, it's our subjective view, but I think we are really doing great job while preparing for Kaunas European Capital of Culture. And I think the program is very complex, and it really includes, it reflects diversity of culture in Kaunas and Kaunas district. And as we saw from yesterday's presentation, it also includes local communities, and it empowers them. They can participate in cultural activities, and it's really great. Really, various events are happening around the neighborhoods. It's performances. Also, you can see street art, paintings in a lot of places. So also people living somewhere not in the city center, outside city, they can see culture. How to see culture is taken outside. It's taken closer to people, and it's really great. So I think we are really doing a great job.
Thank you, Gaila. Actually, I also feel that you are doing a great job. So keep the good work ahead. And I do believe you will have a wonderful set of events in Kaunas as a capital of culture. So, Carolina, would you like to share any feelings about it?
I don't know. I think Gaila mentioned a lot of things. Maybe I can mention some examples, which was mentioned by one of our presenters yesterday, by Lucas. Some examples like events like Memory Office, if someone remembers. By this event, we collect stories from people and release them to all public citizens to be heard. Also, like a happiness day, when people can sit on a happiness chair in a Freedom Avenue and so on. Also, event like Designing Happiness, which creates a new interpretation of convenient city and citizens based on the recommendations from designers and enrollment specialists. And also, I remember from Kaunas 2020 yesterday's presentation, another example of event we are doing is Emerging Kaunas. It's for young people generation to gather together, gather ideas, and share with others in Kaunas and Kaunas district. So maybe that would be what I remember from Kaunas 2020 the most, to be shared to you guys.
That's great. Thank you very much for sharing, Carolina. And really, it's so nice to see people being very positive about things with Kaunas European Capital of Culture. That's just great. So, do we have any other Lithuanian participant or expert that would like to say something else about it? Well, then, if no, we can proceed to discussing other presentations and other inputs. For example, we noticed that everybody was very ecstatic about the video that you have produced, the virtual walks in Kaunas. It looked like people liked the richness, and they liked also the various representations. So I would very much like to hear more about it from our participants from both our network and the Lithuanian general public. How did you feel about it? What kind of feedback, recommendations, or any other things you would like to add because we are aware that one short movie cannot really involve everything. So if there are some things you would like to add, to say, to draw our attention to, or just to compare with anything similar you have done, we'll be very happy to listen about it. Please feel free to put some questions on the chat or in the question and answer section, whatever you are feeling okay about. It's not obligatory to talk if you don't feel like, but we'll be happy to hear more from you about it. Okay, so far there is not much on it. Maybe later on within the discussions in the network, but then we can move to talking about the other presentations. We had actually some very interesting inputs on the policies on foreigners, migrants, and minorities in Lithuania. And I think that that was on day one would that happen, and I think that was actually something that that provoked a little debate in the Lithuanian group, coming from the point of view that when you self-criticize different aspects of legislation and of lack of openness of the audience, this is also rooted with historical context. And we have spoken within our network a couple of times that historical context and cultural context matters when it comes to accommodation of refugees, migrants, and minorities. So that could be something that you would like to debate now, and I would like to open the floor for this too. So anybody from the network and from the international community are actually very welcome to tell us more about this, about the local situation in their country concerning accommodation of migrants, minorities, and refugees, and how the historical context has impacted. Sometimes it could be not necessarily a negative impact, it could be also something positive that brings up positively the accommodation of migrants and minorities. So it will be interesting to hear about this. We have, for example, Spain. Is Leticia around? Because in Spain, there is a good history on migrant integration. And maybe we can hear somebody from Iniesta or the other colleagues, or we can hear somebody else from the southern countries, because we have also Greece and Italy being countries that are on the front line of accepting migrants through the Mediterranean Sea. So maybe our colleagues from ARCIS or Irene would like to say something about the way the historical and cultural context in their countries is actually affecting the integrational issues. Yeah. So Irene, can you hear us? I could see, yes, I think Irene is coming up. Okay, thank you.
Okay, here I am. So about integration situation, if I speak about our reality, our area, this is immigrants are quite well integrated because it is a rich area, and the reason because people from abroad are attracted to come here is because of the job, and this means that they can have they can earn and they can have a qualified life. Of course, cultural differences are still a problem because there are some walls between local community and immigrants, families, and youth. But I think that many local instruments are put in action to let overcome this problem, and most of them are local projects based on cultural activities granted by Erasmus Plus and other European programs that we are working with to create and to open the youth mind, if I can say in this way, to make people more open to differences and more intercultural orientated. But yeah, in general, the immigration is something if I think in general in Italy, it's a phenomena that is not well managed. And I think that information is guilty to part of the difficulty that people that Italian people have in welcoming immigrant group. I don't know if I have explained more or less the situation, or if you want to ask me something more specific.
Oh yeah, for sure, Irene. Thank you very much for sharing this. Yeah, I think it was important to hear about this as well. So thanks for sharing. Leticia, are you there at the moment? Because we would be happy to hear also about the integration of refugees and how the historical and cultural context of the local community is actually helping or disturbing the integration of refugees and migrants in Iniesta.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, because I was having a bit problems with the internet, but now it's fine. So,
no
well, wait, I'm going to, okay, here. Okay, so Spain has a big tradition of being welcoming with migrants, mainly because we had to migrate a lot in the last 100 years with the dictatorship and also the economic situation. So until now, it has been like some kind of problem, but there were not so important. Right now, the situation with the migrants is a bit hard in the sense that with the migration crisis in the last years in the European Union, I think the same is happening in Italy and maybe in Greece. The people is feeling a bit abandoned in that sense because there is a lot of people arriving at the country and there is not a structure, a well-managed structure to make that welcoming. So wait a second. So it's been a bit of a problem, but especially with new movements, anti-migrant movement, like rising, like extreme right. But in the case of a municipality, that is a smaller space with like better communication, I guess. It's the integration and the state of the migrants, I think, is pretty good. It's also depend on the origin of the migrants, because in Spain there is a lot of migration from Latin America and South America, and they integrate really good. For example, in the municipality of Iniesta, we have how do I call it? Like a project pilot in Bolivia, where we have a lot of migrants from Bolivia, and we are collaborating with them to help in the development in the country, in Bolivia, by helping them to implement agricultural practices that are not as usual in Bolivia and not as easy to get. And it's working very well. So it's very nice to see how people who came to Spain from Bolivia, from Latin America, are helping in cooperation development. And that's really nice. But as I said, it depends, the process of integration and the process of become part of the community in a cultural and social way. It's depending a bit more than we wanted of that place of origin. But I guess that's kind of normal, because if you speak the same language, you have similar cultural tradition, it's easier to become part of a main like society branch. Anyway, in our case, we don't have refugees as I saw in Lithuania and other cities. Or migrants are more economic migrants coming because they have family or because their countries are similar or close to Spain, and they mainly work in agriculture. So they come mainly because of economic reasons. So at the same time, that's also good for them to integrate in society, because as they have families most of the times, or people from the same country, they are, I think they are pretty happy right now, or a small community of migrants, and that's kind of rewarding, because we are being able to skip that trend of extreme right anti-migrant movements, and yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing this. And actually, it was interesting to hear the specific context and the specific situation that you are facing. So yeah, thanks for sharing very much, Leticia. And yeah, now do we have anybody else who would like to say a few words about their local context, and how is the local context affecting the integration of migrants and minorities in the local communities? We know that in some countries there are less of refugees and less of external migrants, but there could be also people who do internal migration or migration within ex-big countries, such as, for example, in Baltic republics, there might be not so much of migration from, let's say, Africa or Asia, but it could be migration from ex-Soviet countries because of the common past. So this is also something that it's good to hear, especially when it comes to the breakage of big empirical structures, such as ex-Soviet Union, or like a big multinational state such as ex-Yugoslavia. And we have like three representatives from ex-Yugoslavia. We have people from Macedonia, we have people from Serbia, and people from Croatia. And there is lots of migration happening between these countries. So it's very interesting to hear. Also, Albania is related to Yugoslavia with migration to Yugoslavia and to other countries in Europe. So everybody representing these countries is also very welcome to tell us about this, how the culture and the historical context is affecting this. So maybe somebody from Macedonia, Croatia, or Serbia would like to take the floor and tell us about the specific context they have with migration, which is not necessarily global, but it could be also like local and regional migration. So, for example, in the context of, yeah, hello?
Hi, this is Sonia from Croatia. I'm sorry I didn't reply to you before I heard you, and I don't know why it didn't work. So I think we now fixed it. So anyways, in terms of understanding the local or regional migrations, you need to understand that the country as it once was one country. So people were freely fluctuating. What you also need to understand is that their religious background is slightly different. So we have Christians and we have Muslims. So what happened is that people were migrating where the jobs were. In our case, in the case of Rijeka port city, we have many migrants coming from Bosnia and Herzegovina with a Muslim background. This is one of the reasons why Rijeka was one of the first cities to build Jamia with minaret. And this is the Islam center we took you on when you came to the conference in Rijeka. In terms of understanding migrations, you also need to understand that people, when they come with their families, they tend to stay in packs with their friends, with people who are working with, in order to stay safe and to feel fine. Whereas when they bring families, they tend to integrate more in the society. In terms of law, we have very strict laws regarding the work permits. So as long as you have a job, work permit, you can stay in Croatia. You have to pay for the health system care. Otherwise, you're an equal member of the society besides voting. However, what you are allowed to do, you are allowed to, let's say, join informal migrant communities. We call them minorities, which there are more than 40 of. And within them, you can cast your vote, you can lobby for your ideas, because every minority has one representative in the Croatian parliament. So not every minority has one, but some minorities share one parliament member. What else did I want to maybe mention? I don't know, Bo, is this something that you were looking for, this kind of information?
Yeah, well, actually, what I was thinking about is coming as a feedback from this input that has been done on day one, that the cultural context very much and historical very much affects the way we perceive minorities and the way we draft policies to integrate them. I was just thinking that the case of ex-Yugoslavia is a very unique case, but it could be also a case that is comparable to ex-Soviet Union in specific ways. And as soon as we have many partners representing those two big countries, like ex-Yugoslavia and ex-Soviet Union countries, we could find similarities, how historical context is affecting.
I think, I don't know if you remember, we had a very good discussion back in the conference in Rijeka regarding illegal and legal migrants. So this is where I think the big difference is between regional movements and national or European or Asian coming to Europe. Because when we think about migrations and migrants, people that are coming to the country in some kind of a legal way, they're usually welcomed and people don't have an issue with them. However, we have some kind of pushback from the citizens regarding the migrants that don't look like us. They're usually darker, they're usually men, young men. So regarding those migrations, I think you would have very different views, because as part of European Capital of Culture, there were quite a few exhibitions and quite a few movements raising discussions about migrants and refugees. And I think discussions that were brought up were interesting, but they're not relevant, because people are asking rights when they have rights, whereas illegal migrants don't have rights. So it's very, very difficult discussion, because we celebrate diversity, but we are unable to welcome anybody and everybody. We are selective in who we are welcoming, in a way. So I think that's an opportunity to discuss, and I think European Capital of Culture actually managed to do that. What they did quite nicely, they did use migrants from second generation or even third generation, and we have some food festival called Porto Etno, that it's super successful. So you have 19 different cuisines coming at one place and people enjoying and joining and talking about migrations and migrants, but those are not people who we see in the news.
Yeah, thank you very much for this clarification, Sonia. I think that now, people got what you meant with that. So good perspective. I would say that in other countries you could see probably exactly the same pattern. So this is something we always have. But I was wondering whether the countries in the Baltic, such as Latvia and Litva in our project would have similar issues when it comes to migration within the supranational countries such as Soviet Union. How do you perceive this migration? How your citizens take it? How the historical context affects this as well? So anybody from Latvia, Karnikava representatives or Lithuania would be very welcome to share the insights on this issue as well.
So it wears, yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, thank you.
So yeah, this is Giedra from Diversity Development Group, Lithuania. So as I talked on the first day of the conference, public attitudes are quite negative, but we are more negative when we are talking about specific religions. And the background that people come to the country, the reasons of the people come to the country are not so important. And if we're looking into the nationalities, we can see that majority of migrants who are coming to live in Lithuania, we are from Russia, Belarus, and Ukraine. And I think it's also related with the history of these countries. And the perceptions towards these people are quite positive. I would say probably if we're looking into the public opinion polls, I would say that probably we are more or less the most positive appearance in all this list among different ethnic and social groups. So it really shows that now nationality and having some similarities, language, religion, really works, and for people, for public opinion, it really affects it.
Yeah, thank you, Giedre. Are there any feedbacks from other Lithuanian participants to the input of Giedre? Anything you would like to add or to further clarify? Because I think that's very interesting what we are hearing now. It's really both specific, but also it could be universal in a way. Okay. Right. Is there anyone from Macedonia that would like to share some insights? If not, I think Vilis wants to say something.
Vilis wants to say, we can give
yes, please, Vilis, take the floor.
Yeah, hello. I just wanted to add what was said by a colleague from the beginning. Actually, Latvia is not much different as regards negative opinions on migration, especially with from Muslim states, like from Muslim countries, and I would say that our historical background affects us quite a lot, and maybe like last few years it's I wouldn't say it's getting better, but people are more relaxed, a bit more relaxed regarding preservation of our language, our traditions, our cultures, because those foreigners will come and since we are a small country, like less than 2 million inhabitants, and around 40% are non-Latvians. So it makes Latvians around million with I don't know 100,000. So always we have been very reserved as regards migration, especially from Russia or Belarus. And regarding Ukraine, due to those activities by Russia, by war in eastern Ukraine, so the attitude to Ukrainians is again more positive. Of course, I can't justify it with facts now. It's my, let's say, inner feeling or information I have gathered through my circle, and then what my own perception is. So we are more tolerating migration, possible migration from Ukraine, and now from Belarus as well, since Lukashenko was acting terribly and very violently towards citizens of Belarus. So we have several political refugees, and we are rendering them asylum. So what I want to say that actually now we are a bit more open here in Latvia for migrants. And one more thing which is very important for Latvians, it even doesn't matter so much whether you are dark-skinned or Muslim or Russian or I don't know, coming from China. As long as you speak Latvian, you're perceived as local. So here in Latvia, language here in Latvia, language is one of the most important integration, let's say, issues. If you're a foreigner and you at least try to speak Latvian, you will be perceived much more positive than just living here, and those rather small benefits in comparison to other EU countries that like refugees could have, for example. So that's the short insight on our situation.
Thank you very much, Vilis. That was really important to hear. And as you said at the beginning, it's really similar to the situation of Lithuania that has been described, and probably more participants could say that, well, they find similar patterns in their own environment. But the point now for all of us would be to see how can we promote inclusive policies? How can we try to overcome this kind of negative stereotypes, as you both mentioned, towards specific groups, towards specific religions, and so on? And how can we mainstream this kind of diversity mentality and a more hospitable, let's say, mentality of the majority? Because as we said, these kind of attitudes, they have historical and cultural context, they have their own reasoning. So what we need to do is to tackle the reasoning, is to tackle the roots of this in order to be able to change the situation. So these would be the next steps. Like first, after we identify what's the context and what's the problem, then we go with next steps, like we try to see what kind of action we can take, what kind of methods we can use in these actions. So those will be the next steps and the next points of discussions we are going to have. Therefore, we have actually, in the local events we planned in our project, we have been thinking about drafting recommendations, because we don't only want to get together and discuss the problems, but we want to see how can we tackle the problems together. So we are going to put our heads together with each local community in each local partner country, and we are going to take some brainstorming activities with them, some debates with them, and see how can we all together, citizens and municipalities, civil society and local authorities, look into the problems and see how can we tackle this. And we'll also draft recommendations to local authorities, national authorities, and some pan-European political structures on how to facilitate intercultural dialogue and inclusion of migrants and minorities in our communities. So the first step now, we looked at the problems, we keep discussing them because the discussion is always open, but we'll also take a very practical step to this. So I see that the timing is almost up. We are going towards the end of our discussion and feedback session. This was from me at this stage. Yeah.
Sorry, Flavius from Romania wanted to say something more.
Absolutely. I'm sorry I didn't see that. Yeah. But of course, before we close the discussion, I will gladly give Flavius the floor. Yeah, please. Flavius, you can step in. Can you hear us?
Hello, sorry.
Yep.
I apologize. My internet also broke down. I think too many people doing Zooms. Unfortunately, I think I lost your last intervention. and I'm not. I lost your question or intervention, so I'm a bit confused.
Yes, Ovid, you wrote that you have border with Yugoslavia. So about that, yeah.
Yeah. So before our meeting, the municipality asked us also to share a bit about the community response. So if you agree, I will just show you a very quick 1-minute video about something that people are doing in Timișoara, and it has been amazing. It has been an amazing response to the, as I said earlier, to the record. Okay, I'm trying to. Okay, you can still hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I apologize for the. Okay. Something froze. Okay, here it is. So it's a short presentation a bit about the community response to the increasing number of asylum seekers in Timișoara, and it's one that we have in English. So I will share it with you very quickly. Thank you. This video was made also as a thank you for our German partners. But since then, many other partners and, as we said, volunteers. I don't know if you lost me for a second there. So this was just a bit about the community response and of volunteers, and including refugees. This is a very important part. A lot of our volunteers are refugees themselves, or migrants or students here. So it's been also involving the migrants as well in helping other migrants, which is it's a responsibility and also a social response. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Flavius, for sharing this. That was really nice. And it was good to hear from you and then from your experiences as well. So thanks again. Now, as time is up, we are going to have a break, and then we're going to meet in the smaller group with the project networking partners. But before we close, I would like to kindly ask everybody who took part in the meeting now to fill in the evaluation form that has been sent to everyone by Carolina, because it is extremely important for our reporting purposes at the European Commission. This is actually proving that what happened here has been held really. And we also want to hear from you about improving our future events. So if you can give us a feedback and let us know what you liked, how can we do better in the future, we'll be very grateful. So thank you very much for the time you invested to be with us, and also for the few minutes you will invest within today or tomorrow to fill in the evaluation form. It has been a beautiful experience together, and we are looking forward to meet you in our next meetings in Latvia, Bulgaria, and Poland. So thank you very much once again. Gaila, maybe you would like to say how long do we have until the next meeting?
Yeah, so thank you everyone for also for all the guests that were with us here for 3 days. And now we say goodbye not to project to those who are not project partners. If you want to see a recording of our whole event, so it will be placed in the internet. All information will be in our Facebook account, also in the account of Intercultural Network project. So please look there. Also, presentation will be placed on the internet. That if you want some more input on that. So thank you once again. And for project partners, let's meet in 15 minutes. According here to program, it's 12:45. So. Lithuanian time, Central European time, it will be 11:45. And the link to partner meeting will be also again in the chat.
Thank you very much for sharing it, Gaila. Maybe you would like to share also the evaluation link again?
Yeah, we'll do that, yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. So yeah, let's not close the meeting before we share these two links so people can go directly there. And actually maybe during the break, some of our partners would like to fill it in too. So please remind your colleagues that have not been participating today, but took part on the first or second day of our event to also fill in the evaluation forms. It is really important. Thank you once again.